authors, I'm Joanne Morrell, children's and young adult fiction writer and author of short non-fiction for authors. Thanks for joining me for the Hybrid Author podcast, sharing interviews from industry professionals to help you forge a career as a hybrid author, both independently and traditionally publishing your books. You can get the show notes for each episode and sign up for your free author pass over at the Hybrid Author website to discover your writing process, get tips on how to publish productively, and get comfortable promoting your books at www.hybridauthor.com.au. Let's crack on with the episode. Authors! I hope you're all keeping well in whatever part of the world you reside and listen to the podcast in. Welcome to the very first episode of 2023. Today's interview is with multiple award-winning children's author Dianne Wolfer. And Dianne's chatting to us on writing across genres, the publishing industry and working with different publishing houses, commissioned works and hybrid authorship, and she shares her tips for authors looking to write in multiple areas. So on my author adventure this week, I'm still on holidays, so not a lot of author stuff has been getting done. I've been happy reading my book club book, A Month of Sundays by Liz Brusky. I'm not sure how you pronounce her surname. So lots of reading, relaxing, currently in Denmark, which is south Western Australia, in our caravan, and it is just beautiful down here. And it's a place I could actually live. They describe it as the forest meets the beach, and it's just lovely. So once again, I am recording this from my car, but this time not the side of the road, just at the office beside the caravan park I'm in, parked up. So yeah, very short and sweet author adventure. I have been obviously keeping up with the podcast when it needs to be released, and also fulfilling my commitments of being the Society of Children's Book Writers and Illustrators newsletter editor, and putting a couple of social media posts up, although I haven't been so active there as I am on holiday. But yeah, so that's really about it for just now. Just enjoying these final days as it all kicks back off the week of the 16th. And I've been making little notes here and there of certain things and trying to really just schedule and organise myself. As if you listen to the last episode, The Lessons Learned, you'll know that going into 2023, organisation is my word for the year. So I'll be sticking to that. So if you love the podcast or any of the episodes has helped you further in your author career, you can now pay it forward by buying me a coffee over at buymeacoffee.com/thehybridauthor. Or you can leave me a review on whatever platform you listen to the podcast on to help other writers like you discover the podcast. Let's all support each other. Dianne Wolfer is the award-winning author of 23 books for children and teenagers. She is a passionate advocate for children's literature in Australia, using her teaching background to present author talks and workshops at schools and festivals across Australia and internationally. Dianne served 6 years as WA advisor for the Society of Children's Book Writers and Illustrators, and she currently serves as remote regions coordinator for SCBWI Australia West. Welcome to the Hybrid Author podcast, Dianne.
Thanks so much for having me, Jo.
Oh, thanks for coming on. You've had a massive career. So we'll start just by you telling us, why the writing industry? How did you come into it?
Oh, I think I've always loved writing. I'm one of those people who make sense of the world by writing notes and little dot points and all the rest of it. So when I finished teachers college, I went backpacking through Asia, as you did in those days. We lived in Thailand as a child for 2 years, from when I was 10 to 12. And so I thought at the time there was a conflict on the border. So I thought maybe I could be useful in a refugee camp or something. So went over, ended up continuing backpacking on to Nepal, and then worked. They needed a teacher in a very remote part of Western Nepal, away from where all the fun trekking and all that goes on. It's a a lot of challenging conditions up there. So I took on that challenge. The more they said it was going to be tricky, the more I thought, great, I'll go up there. I was actually teaching the children of missionaries who were there trying to make conditions better. So anyway, I was up there for about 9 or 10 months and had plenty of time to write. And so I just started jotting my short stories, and my first publication was an article when I came down from the hills called Eating Out in Kathmandu, which at the time there was buffalo meat moussaka and soup with goat's hooves in it, and it was also the end of the hippie trail days, and there was amazing pie shops everywhere with massive lemon meringue pies and things for people's cravings, and lots of things to write about. So that's, I guess, then I came back to Australia and I joined the Society of Women Writers and started writing short stories. One of those short stories turned into my first book, Dolphin Song, in 95 with Fremantle Press. And that was back in the days when the YA genre was not really, it was just starting a long time ago. Yeah, it was the third YA book that Fremantle Press put out.
Yeah, that's amazing. What a story there. As we heard from your bio, you do have 23 books and counting at the moment. Can you tell us, what categories do they fall into? Such an interesting,
I looked myself when we decided on this fun topic, I looked and I started trying to group them. So I actually I wrote them down and thought, okay, there's 6 historical fiction, but one of those is a picture book. YA, there's 4, and one of those crosses over to middle grade where there's, say, 4. Biographies or STEM, there's 2 there. Picture book 3, and then the light series, I don't know how you classify that, whatever that well might be. And that really started, there weren't many of those kind of unusual picture books that are for any age back when first one, Lighthouse Girl, came out. One fantasy, The Shark Caller, which took me 10 years to get right. That was really hard. Fantasy is such a hard genre. And it's not even true sort of high fantasy. It's really, what if there are, it's set in Papua New Guinea under the ocean anyway, in the ocean. Anthropomorphism, I guess 2 of them would fall into that boat. Younger readers, there's a couple. And then even like the educational market, I've got 5 titles that were with Thompson Learning, now Cengage. And I know ages ago I heard a very established author saying on the radio, a little bit poo-pooing the educational market, but I think, I feel really strongly that many children don't have parents who will go and buy them books. So really, school and the library is where they're going to get their books. So the educational market is massively important, I think.
Absolutely.
So, so there's so many hybrid kind of ways of doing it. I guess a lot of those genres overlap, and you could say, well, they're different. One's middle grade and fantasy, one's historical and middle grade. Or
I suppose what ties them all together, it's still in the children's realm, but it is still different age groups, there is different categories. And I guess I don't know many authors that have been able to do what you do, because I've always just heard that publishers, that you sort of maybe get a deal for one book and then they want you to keep going in that same direction. They don't want you to kind of pivot into different areas. So how's that been for you? Did you obviously, like you said, so Dolphin Song, was that middle grade?
Yeah. Well, YA in those days, yes, it was called. But none of my YA are, I think upper primary could read them. Choices is about teenage pregnancy, so maybe not that one as much. But even then I found year 7, which was primary when it came out, they were most interested in it. So, which surprised me how young that one goes. But I think sometimes I've stopped and thought exactly what you're saying. This is maybe not a very wise career move as far as making a solid income as an author. But I guess you just have to do what works for you. I guess one benefit is I like regional schools if I'm touring, and usually, you've got them from the preppies up to year 10. And so I've got something for everyone.
Yeah, that's it. So in that sense, it has been a good move. When you obviously got your first publishing deal, did they want you to continue in that direction, or did you have ideas for something else and you've just kind of gone with your creative heart where it's taken you?
Yeah, interesting. It was such a long time ago that with the YA genre being so new, my next 2 books were YA. And then I kind of fell into, I'd always wanted to do picture books. So my first picture book, Photographs in the Mud, is set along the Kokoda track in Papua New Guinea. So it's been out for about 18 years or so, but it's not really for little year 1s. I'm not going to show it to year 1s because it's too scary. Yeah. But that's been used as visual literacy up into year 10. And so
is that with Fremantle Press?
Yeah, that one's with Fremantle Press as well. And I guess and then the light series, even within genres, my books don't really, so not only do I jump around as far as age groups, I guess my books cross over ages. The Light series is marketed for youth, children, but seniors and adults seem to like them, I mean, just as much. And they're now being adapted again for stage.
Yeah, congratulations. That's amazing.
It's just been announced that Theatre 180, are doing... That the grand opening will be in Albany late February, and then it's going to Busselton and hopefully beyond. But of course, funding's tricky these days, so see how that goes. Maybe I think the plan is to take it further if possible.
How amazing! Yeah. Did they ask you to be involved or not really? It's just
I think Stuart Holtz, who's the artistic director of Theatre 180, he brought the first two, Lighthouse Girl and Lighthouse Boy, to the stage with Black Swan Theatre, and Helly Turner wrote that play, and she's also one of the two playwrights. So there's some of the creatives have been involved before. I think in the very start, when it was going to be for Black Swan Theatre, long ago, they asked, did I want to be involved? But I'm not a playwright, and so I'm just loving being there and sitting in on some of the earlier rehearsals, and just if anything doesn't feel quite right, then that's when I'll jump in, but otherwise, no, that's their expertise. I've got plenty of other things that I want to do, so no.
It must be amazing.
Never say never.
It must be amazing though to sit there and see your work, come to life in a different medium as well. It's just
amazing. It's like so many emotions, like exciting, humbling, bizarre. I know when the 100-year commemoration of the Anzac fleet leaving Albany in 2014, Albany just went off, and there was so many things. And of course, a lot of the journalists were looking for a fresh angle, and a girl signalling from Breaksea Island with postcards. That was a very fresh angle. So that got a lot of airing. And I know with the commemoration, there were film projections across the Albany Entertainment Centre and on old buildings, and it was just so exciting. So many things happened with that. And then The Giants in 2015 was loosely based on Lighthouse Girl as well. So those adaptations, I love it when it's out there in the world and another creative takes it. I know the combined youth choirs have done a song, Lighthouse Girl, which was beautiful. And probably as much as any of those things, I like to see how teachers adapt it and what they do with it, and see all these beautiful fays signalling away on their full stage.
That's absolutely incredible.
Joyful. I feel so lucky. I feel privileged and humbled and all of those things.
Would you classify those books like historical non-fiction, really? But they are aimed at youth?
I'd say it's historical fiction, I think, because really they're starting from a true snippet, and as much as possible. I mean, the research took 4 years for the first one because the National Anzac Centre, wasn't in Albany then. And so it was all that really old. Now I could do the research in a week up there, but back then it was not known it was barely known. Even Lighthouse Girl Faye's son, Don, didn't really know about his mother's life on the island. So it was a journey for us both. So I guess it's taking that snippet of fiction, of truth, of reality, and then weaving around it. I once heard, I think, someone talking, a very well-known author, about historical fiction and how if not a lot's known, then that's better because you can use your imagination. So
that's absolutely amazing. Going back to the categories and things in your earlier career, do you think, because obviously it was a while back then and things were a bit different, you've been able to jump around because of the time, or do you think because you're not solely with Fremantle Press, you are with other publishers for your work, so you haven't really, have you maybe pitched to Fremantle Press and they might not have been interested with some ideas, you've taken it wider and just gone that way?
Yeah, totally. I know Fremantle Press are just fabulous, but they're only going to do a certain amount of books a year. So whether that's for picture books and teenagers, whether that's 10 or 15, maybe even 20 now, I'm not sure what the latest thing is, but really, I mean, you and I between us know plenty of published Fremantle Press authors and creatives who can't always have a book come out with them. And it's just a fabulous team there. And also, not all books are right for them. I know a few times I've pitched something to Kate Sutherland there, and it's just not, she's maybe liked it, but it's not right for her list. So that's gone somewhere else. Or maybe perhaps I know right from the start that a book might work better with someone else. Back in the day when I started, there was really, you kind of belong to a publisher, and they even used the word stable, which I don't know, you all feel like whinnying and galloping about, but it was you're part of whatever stable. But now it's shifted. And with so many ways of being published, so many hybrid and different ways. Back then, I think self-publishing didn't have perhaps it wasn't quite as professional as now. There are so many amazing ways to self-publish and to hybrid publish. But back then, I think if you were plus there were less children's authors. I mean, back in the day, I know when Fran Elisac started Squibby, in WA, there were 10 of us. And now, I don't know, there's 200 and something.
Yes.
So more competition.
Yeah.
And
but
so,
is there more publishing houses or not so much?
I think in the last 5 years, there've been some smaller ones popping up. The last few years, I think, have been very difficult and this is, just my observation, I might be completely wrong. Some of the bigger publishing houses the marketing and publicity departments are so influential that you might have an editor who particularly loves a book and wants to do it, but they feel it's not viable enough. Whereas with a smaller publisher, they have more, if it's a passion project, they can just go for it and say, well, you know what, we'll cover this one because it's such a beautiful book. And there seem to be more smaller publishers popping up that have a bit more flexibility with their lists. And it's been a very hard time for publishing during the COVID lockdowns, and everyone wants something joyful, I guess, but second guessing what that might be. And it's always a tricky industry to be in. There's challenges, but it's been really challenging holding titles back and then suddenly they're all coming out. And
That's it. But no, I agree with what you're saying. Like I've heard in the past, you were only allowed to submit to, say, one publisher at a time, possibly. And I guess, like you're saying, and then you were with this publisher, and times have changed now that, the game's changed, that you can apply to various places and things like that. So when you were sending your work out to various publishers, and obviously you have got picked up, how many publishers are you with off the top of your head?
Fremantle Press, Penguin, Allen and Unwin, Wild Dingo Press, Walker, and Cengage.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, that's a lot. Do you explain all the books that you've got out with the other publishers when you're kind of pitching your work to different publishers? Do you say, this is my background, this is what I'm pitching to you? Does it matter? Does it come into play? Is it any?
Well, I guess if you stay around long enough, things get easier.
Yeah.
So for me, at the moment, 2 of the books that came out this year, or 2022, were commissioned, which is unusual, was exciting and fabulous. So my first book with Wild Dingo Press, the Aussie STEM star Munjed Al-Mudiris, that was a commission. And then a second one, The Sky Blackburn Lang, Eating Edible Insects for the Planet, which is great. Eating Insects for the Planet. Such a fun topic.
Yeah.
That was commissioned. And then also my book with Allen and Unwin, so is part of the Through My Eyes Australian Disaster Zones series, mouthful. And that was the commission. So that's set up in the Pilbara, and they have Australian disasters. There's 4. First is Tasmania, and then there's mine in the Pilbara. So that was the commission as well. So I guess in those cases, I was asked to be part of those, which is lovely. It's such an honor, and really different experience to me coming up with an idea and then pitching it. And I still have so many ideas. I've got like a few pages, and the most consistent ideas, they just stay in my head for years and years. I'm working on things that really have been in my head for years, waiting their turn for me to give it full attention. And so one of those, the last one in the Light series, The Last Light Horse, I felt, I really wanted Fremantle Press to do that. So I pitched the idea. It took me ages to get the pitch right. And then I sent it to Kate Sutherland with all fingers crossed, all hooves crossed. And she took it up. But I wanted to write a book about Sandy, the only horse of about 136,000 to come home from World War I. But I was open to the idea of it being a picture book or something. I didn't mind the shape of it.
Yeah.
And I trust her. She's an amazing publisher. She didn't want it to be anthropomorphic, which of course is one of my passions. She felt that it would round out the Light series really well. And that was terrific. I totally agreed with that. So really before I wrote that, although I had the story so in my head, a lot of the research from Light Horse Boy was already there. It was different in that the other books all have a multi-perspective, so their first and third point of view, whereby either from a letter or a journal, the story is also told, as well as the archival photos. But with a horse that's not being anthropomorphic, I had to come up with another way to add layers and perspective. So basically I linked Sandy's. I shaped it around the four men who were really important in his life, and that gave me a little bit of a way to add some depth and layers.
Yeah, that's amazing. And I think it would be every author's dream to get to that stage, to be able to obviously still pitch, but you, I suppose, like a debut author or an unknown author, they can pitch, but then the publisher doesn't know them very well. They don't even know if they can deliver on what they say. So you have credibility, experience to be able to put that forward, and then them trust you as well as getting commissions, which is fantastic. It's absolutely
and I really know what a privileged position I am now, because for so many years, I don't know, 10, 20, however many, that was my experience. And so I guess if you stick with it, I'm still just as anxious as any new author about a book coming out or being picked up. I think it's the nature of being a creative. I think Warren Flynn, an Albany author, he once said authors feel, and illustrators, feel the world differently, or whether there's a sensitivity that you're more raw to it or something along those lines. And that resonated for me, in that I don't know any of my author, creative, illustrator friends who are not anxious, sensitive, worried about, it's just how we are. And
it's just tricky. I just think it's such a personal thing, though. It's really putting out yourself out there, out into the world for people to have an opinion, and it is bloody scary.
Exactly.
Good or bad.
Yeah. And it takes a lot of bravery and courage to do that, particularly if you're new to it, and particularly if you're working full time at something else and you're new to it, to just keep plugging away is really hard, and you really have to keep geeing yourself along and believing in yourself, and joining groups that are supportive, or having a critique buddy, and those kind of things are really helpful, I think.
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard when you get rejected quite often, and then you're just like, oh gosh, it's hard not to take it in. But you end up growing a thick skin. But where the position you're in now, you have worked hard to get there, so well done.
Thank you.
But yeah, so with the variety of books that you have put out, from picture book to middle grade to teens, and obviously non-fiction and all the categories and the genres, what are your tips for authors that are looking to jump across different sections? Much like yourself, I have a lot of ideas, from picture books to older readers to middle readers. There's obviously, if you have any tips with writing or publishing, or just anything really.
I think that probably one that is really important, that I don't always follow myself, but I am aware that I should, is don't send it out too early. And it's very hard when you've put your heart and soul, and you've already spent a year or two on the idea, and you just want to get it published. You just want to get it in the hands of readers. You want to get it out of your life so you can go to something else or share that. But so often it's not ready. In my case, anyway, there's probably authors who do all that in their head. For me, it's like 100, 200, however many drafts, of just really trying to make it as good as possible, or ready to go out the door. So I think be patient. I'm not, I know, but there's my advice. But I really just do the drafts, do the work, let it settle. So I'm always working on at least 3 things, 5, 10, in various, I've got 2 pages of ideas that jostle around, and they're in different formats and just in different files in my study. So depending on which one is annoying me the most, or which one I feel the world is ready for, there's some stories that won't ever be published because for whatever reason the world shifts and the market's not there. But that doesn't mean I haven't grown as a author by trying to make it shape it. So I think don't self-doubt, don't question yourself too much. Just get to the end of your story and let the shape settle. You could say The Shark Caller, for example. That is, I don't even know what genre that is. It's adventure, it's fantasy, but not high fantasy. And I really just let that find its own way. And probably if I hadn't been doing a PhD, which was looking at animal voices and anthropomorphism, it'd still be not finished. But because I'd nominated that as one of my creative projects, I had to finish it and start again. So really, I think get to the end and then put it aside. Go keep a copy, of course, on your computer, and then go back knowing you've got a copy and just try it in different ways. Try it as a middle grade, as a picture book, as a poem, try it in different ways and let it settle. Share it with a trusted friend or writer buddy, and then come back to it again and again. Don't send it out too early.
When you say let it settle, how long do you let it settle?
Well, I'm working on
Depends.
yeah, it depends on each project. I think sometimes something will be ready quite quickly. That's rare for me. But there's a picture book that I know it's a great idea, and I've been working on it probably for at least 5 years. And I just keep coming back to it, and I keep changing it around a bit and working on it. And I know it's not ready. I'm very tempted to have sent it out this year, but I just don't feel it's ready yet, and I don't know what's wrong. But I think if I leave it long enough and keep coming back to it, and I think it will find its shape one day, and it will be better for it. And there's plenty of things to work on in the meantime. And I know that's very frustrating because we want our books to be out there in the world, but working on multiples and letting them take whatever time it is they need.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic advice. I really appreciate that. No, thank you. So obviously you have had this extensive career, and you know what you're talking about. You know what you're doing after so many years.
I'm not sure that I do, actually.
I'm sure you do, underlying somewhere, even though you probably feel like it's the first time. But you've worked with a lot of industry professionals, editorial teams and marketing teams, and been through all that. So with that in mind, as this is the Hybrid Author podcast, have you ever considered independently publishing or putting a work out yourself that's maybe you think, I don't think this publishing house would want it, or that, or everything just sort of ties in with what you've got out there?
Yeah, sure. At the moment, I did have an idea that I really wanted to do, and my sister's an amazing photographer, so I kind of had an idea that we could maybe do, and she also has her own business. So I thought, well, she's got the skills that we could do something together. There are so many ideas that might not fit a mainstream publisher, and so I certainly wouldn't say no to doing that. At the moment, I've got a few things that I think I hopefully can place with a publisher, but I'm certainly not at all. And it's changing so quickly. 5 years ago, I would have said no.
Yeah.
But now there are just so many great options and ways of doing that. I just feel as if I don't have time to write down all my creative ideas. And so the people who know me know I'm a bit of a muddlehead. So I don't know I am my own business, but whether that's the side of me that, I'm not Wendy Binks, say, who's an amazing business. So maybe it's better for me to keep going the way I am. But if there was a project that really called me and no one was going to take it, then yes, I'd consider going down that path.
Yeah, no, it's amazing. It's not the easier route I'm finding, like self-publishing, but we get there in the end, but it is a process.
And I think what you're doing is brilliant in that by doing this podcast, and now I know you've joined up to be a squibby on the committee, and those are the ways. So for basically people know you now, and so they know that you're really passionate. They know you're active in the community, and that you're doing the hard yards to get involved and give back to the community. Yeah. So publishers really respect that, and I think your name gets known, and I honestly think that's a really good way for other people to get involved with the writing community, volunteer, CBCA, do it all, and then people embrace you. It's a friendly community, children's literature.
And it's as we said before about taking the knocks, and it can be hard to keep chipping away, being amongst your people. And I get so inspired going to the workshops and the author talks and the launches, and just being around people with the general same interests as myself, and it keeps you going.
It does. And every time I go to a workshop or a launch, I learn something every single time.
Yeah, no, it's incredible. Well, you sound like you've got so many amazing things on the horizon, Dianne. Apart from your big play theatre extravaganza, what else can we expect from you in the future?
I'm really excited. There's Walker Books. There's a middle grade novel coming out called Scout and the Rescue Dogs. Latest date, I think, is either June or 7th or July 7th. There was a chance of this year, and then it was put back to January, and it's now hopefully that's when it comes out, and I'm really excited about that. It's a middle grade, links to the 2019 bushfires, which my family were impacted by, and it's a girl whose dad's a truck driver, and they're doing a philanthropic truck run, taking dog food to dog shelters around sort of parts of the East
Had to get that in there.
That's really exciting. I know. And there's also a very well-known WA dear friend of mine and I, who I'm not sure that all of the T's are crossed on the contract, but we will be doing a picture book together, and I can't wait to work with her. It's going to be a wild ride.
Oh, fantastic. Well, huge congrats on all your success so far. And thank you so much for sharing your time and expertise with us. Can you tell us our listeners, where they can find you on and offline, all your books and media and everything?
Yeah, sure. Thank you. I've got my website, basically is diannewolfer.com. I also keep another website, Animals Who Talk, which I haven't posted on all year, but there is some interesting things I am going to. That's a New Year's resolution. Instagram's just Dianne Wolfer. Having a weird name is helpful sometimes.
It's a good name. I like it for author.
And well, not W is right down in the far corner, but Tim Winton and Marcus Cusack are there with me, so that's a nice place to be. I'd rather be up the front though. Yeah. So, and Facebook. So I never really got into Twitter, but Instagram and Facebook and my website, that's the best place.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Dianne. That was amazing.
Thank you so much for the opportunity.
So there you have it, folks, the truly inspiring Dianne Wolfer. And if you haven't already, go and check out the wide variety of Dianne's books, as she is a fabulous writer. Next time on the Hybrid Author Podcast, we have Troy Lambert from Plotter. Plotter is a new writing software. Well, it's more a plotting software for authors, and he's going to be telling us all about this and much more. I wish you well in your author adventure this next week. That's it for me. Bye for now.
That's the end for now, authors. I hope you're further forward in your author adventure after listening, and I hope you'll listen next time. Remember to head on over to the Hybrid Author website at www.hybridauthor.com.au to get your free author pass. It's bye for now.